Luas Kanard, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're great, mate. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, man. It was it took us a little while to get this in with the time difference, but got there in the end. So it's good to finally meet you. And just wanted to start off, I guess, you know, the UK audience, those that are kind of hardcore fans will probably know you at this point, but obviously prior to 2024, I don't think certainly in the UK many guys knew you. I think you won the ADCC trials out there. And then, of course, you ended up on CJI and you hit Victor Hugo with the Aussie backstep into the inside heel hook and got sub of the night or sub of the tournament. So instant fame overnight. But yeah, I mean, prior to that, I don't think we'd heard of you much. So you kind of came out of nowhere. And I think, are you a brown belt as well?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, brown belt.
That's crazy, man.
You're a brown belt? I didn't know he was a brown belt. Yeah. Fucking hell, what a brown belt.
So we're speaking to the sort of Asian Australia ADCC trials champion, CJI sub of the tournament winner, and sandbagging world champion, I guess, mate. Is that fair?
I don't know, man. If I could give it to myself, it's not a big deal, honestly. I think it's less of a big deal these days than it ever was before as well. So that's kind of nice.
I think so. I think it's just weird because you've got lads obviously from your neck of the woods, like obviously Kit back in the day and Josh, who kind of get that black belt incredibly quickly in like 4 years.
I just do the exact opposite, eh?
Yeah, but it's bizarre, mate. I don't know. You're going to have to explain that situation to us.
It's the best thing for me because I run a gym, right? So if a parent comes up to me asking where their kid's belt is, which does happen, I can be like, well, it's not that big a deal, right? I'm a brown belt. It's actually nice.
It's madness, mate. But we'll come back to your background and sort of your training and everything in a second. But I wanted to just jump back to CJI 1, mate. Because obviously, as we mentioned there, you'd won the ADCC trial. So I guess you were going to ADCC. And I think quite late in the day, you jumped into CJI 1. So tell us how that happened and why you decided to switch from ADCC to CJI.
So, man, I didn't exactly expect to win the ADCC trials, right? I had done sweet fuck all up to that point for about 6 years. I think my first comp or at least my first NoGi comp in about 6 years was the trials, like the first trials. And I had about a 4-day anxiety attack before I did it. So I didn't really expect to have won the second ADCC trials. I thought between the first and second trials, I tried to compete as much as possible just to sort of acclimatize to that environment. And it definitely made a huge difference for the second one. I think it made a lot of difference because I could finally think and sort of do my technique. As far as why I did CJI instead of the ADCC, it was for the same reason everybody else did it. I did it just because I was often. Like, straight up, Craig Jones and Lockie Giles and Kit Dale as well in Aussie Jiu-Jitsu are kind of royalty, man. If they asked me to bend over and made a fist, I would do it. Like, around here, they're kind of a big deal. And I woke up to a message one morning from Craig, and it was about 2 weeks before ADCC, and like asking me if I wanted to do it. I was like, fuck yeah, I want to do it. Like, I didn't actually give any thought to what I would actually be doing. If anything, I had thought a week before, because it was about 2-3 weeks. No, it was 2 weeks before ADCC that Mason Fowler 2 weeks before CJI that Mason Fowler pulled out, right? I mean, same weekend the event. So yeah, 2 weeks before he pulls out, and about a week before that, I had been sort of visualizing what it was going to be like to be at ADCC because I'd never been in an event that big before. I mean, literally the thought of standing at the bottom of a venue with that many people watching me sort of in the stands looking down at me was obviously quite nerve-wracking. I couldn't really envision that situation. And then I actually had this thought. I was like, imagine then going down even further into a pit, right? Like, that was, and I thought some of the pictures that made for after the event, where you get the crowd's perspective looking down, was so cool, man. Like, that was actually where I spent most of my time after I'd competed, was just sitting in the crowd because it was such a cool event to be at. The vibe in the crowd was amazing. It was just a better opportunity. It was the same reason everybody else decided to do it. There was the fairly reasonable protest against what people got paid in jiu-jitsu, and it was cool to be a part of it. And I still cannot believe that is Craig Jones doing it, man? Like this guy, I used to watch him compete at ADCC, and he just looked like I guess what he probably was at the time, which was like a bong rat from Adelaide, right? Like a skinny dude with like too much scruff here, and he goes out and fights Homilo. And then to go from that to what he is now is completely unbelievable. So, like, obviously a huge inspiration for everyone in Australia, and to be a part of it was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And obviously you, I guess, came in last minute, so you were seeded, sort of quite low, and therefore you got a very high seeded guy in Victor Hugo. I think certainly from Danny and I's perspective, we were like, well, it's going to be him or Nicky Rods. And Victor's got the past victories, so he was, I think, our favourite to win the whole thing. How did you feel when you knew you were fighting him first?
Yeah, so I guess if my first thought was, oh my god, I'm doing CJI, the second thought was like, oh my god, I've got to do CJI, right? So it's like now I'm fighting this guy. I actually didn't give too much thought of it to it, and then the whole week I was there with my mates Ali and Melly, and we're talking about it, and they're like, bro, he's not that big. He's actually not that big.
He's fucking huge, mate. We was out in Texas with him, and he is massive.
Bro, they convinced me too. Like the night before, I'm sitting there and I'm eating we go out for like a hectic meal, like steak joints in America are crazy. And I think I ate like 2 bites. I'm like, he's not that big. He's not that big. And then we go to the weigh-in and I'm like, he's pretty fucking big, bro. It's like literally that moment where you stand there and it's like this perspective is crazy.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah. He's huge. He made Nicky look small in Texas when we was out there.
Yeah.
He walked in and I was like, fuck, he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's not even like a pumped up big boy, is he? He's just
yeah, he's not even jacked, is he?
No.
He's just big, isn't he? Just naturally big. Imagine if he got on the juice, mate. Everyone would be fucked, wouldn't they?
He looks massive, man. He's legitimately, right, to speak to though. He's an absolute legend.
Oh, lovely guy.
Yeah, no, that's the coolest thing about him, man. Like he really carries himself like a champ. That's what he is, right?
Yeah. So you obviously had that like realization moment, like obviously in the couple of days up, and then obviously doing that walk, like you obviously are clearly a guard player. Obviously sort of work that K guard well, and Victor is a bit of a similar sort of player as well, just a bit bigger, of course. But did you ever have any sort of question over how you were going to approach that match, or was it always going to be to take that sort of bottom position and play guard?
Yeah, definitely a guard player. It was pretty funny because when we showed up at the event, because my gym is Sydney Wrestling Academy, so when I show up at the event, I'm in the same warm-up room as Jason Nolf, and he goes, like, sees the rash guard, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are wrestlers." It's like, yeah. I had just seen that video with him and Giles Trials where he goes to Dagestan, and I was like, no, I'm sorry, bro. I'm not even going to pretend for 1 second that I can wrestle. It's like a running joke at this point around Sydney that, like, it's Sydney Wrestling Academy, but honestly, for the most part, we pull guard. There are plenty of good wrestlers there. Like, there's definitely some people that would shoot me for saying what I just said. But, like, the competitive guys tend to pull guard. They do quite well there. Yeah, that was definitely always my plan.
Yeah. So it is more of an academy thing, not just a you thing then, huh?
I mean, yeah, I coach every class at the gym, and I just tend to show what, like, I like to do. Actually, if I do... It's kind of like we're very influenced by Unity, just because I had done most of my training with Levi and a guy called Ariel Tabak, who I'm not sure if you know. And they spent a lot of time at Unity, and Unity tended to be really, really fluid, sort of open guard from bottom and then pressure passing from on top. And this is the game that we tend to play at Sydney Wrestling Academy as well. And it's like I was sort of, if for the first few years of me being there, teaching everyone the kind of passing that works best against my guard, and definitely helped my guard retention because everyone got quite good there. It benefited me a lot as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, obviously you shocked the world with that submission. But obviously you came out, you sat down, you kind of started working guard, and then I think you swept him back, and then you came up on top, and then obviously gave him the Aussie back step and jumped in from there.
It's the same one Craig did to Tex, right? It's like if you're... Yeah. I think he even mentioned, like, if you're scared of what someone's going to do, then the back step to the leg lock is the move, right? Yeah. Yeah, man, that was definitely not something I had planned at all. Like that whole moment was a complete trip out for sure.
Yeah. Well, talk us through how you must have been feeling at the time, if you can even recall. Like, you just walked out on that big stage, like you're, kind of seeing the audience. You're against the probably the number one seed in the tournament, the biggest guy arguably in the tournament as well. You kind of hit that. The crowd goes crazy. I mean, how did that feel in that moment?
Yeah, there was definitely a sense of unreality about the whole thing, man. Like, as I mentioned, I barely even competed in the years leading up to that. And then I definitely trained a lot, like probably an unhealthy amount. And I had a good sense that my game is quite strong, right? Like moving fluidly between open guard positions is something that's always been a big focus. Like, so I sort of had the sense that game would kind of apply to just about anyone, right? And then it's actually not. But yeah, doing the event, like everything around the event was completely shocking, man. Like, how do you visualize something like that? It was completely different to anything I'd experienced before, and it was definitely different to my day-to-day. And I'd never been to ADCC or a big event. I don't even like going to the fucking concerts as a spectator. So walking out was like the day before, man, seeing everyone I ever saw looked up to in jiu-jitsu all back-to-back was crazy. And I'm one of those guys that watches every B Team YouTube video, like, as much as I can get my hands on breakdowns on YouTube. I'm just Stuart. I grew up on like Stuart Cooper highlight reels of ADCC, stuff like that. So seeing him at the event filming and then being in one of his highlights is completely absurd to me. And then like, what was crazy about it, man, someone at a local event asked me, I competed this year on an event here, which is pretty sick, called M16. And someone asked me, they're like, they were completely hammered at the time. They go, did you think you could do it? And did you believe it when it happened? And I was like, it's like, I did think I could do it, but I couldn't believe it when it happened. You know what I mean? It was, and I watched it back more recently. Just yesterday, someone made a highlight of it. And even when I leg lock him, I look at him like, are you serious? I just couldn't believe it. And then, yeah, man, I don't know. Like when I stood up, I pointed at this guy, he's Mitch, who runs that Austrian Frank Sunnies. And I wonder if, like, I have no idea the sequence of events that led me to even being in CJI, but he was one of the few people that was actually watching the trials that I did. Like, I felt so proud of the run that I'd had at trials that, like, kind of like floating, really give a shit about it. Like, didn't really watch it. There was no highlights. There was of a couple people that were sort of more famous in the sport, like Adele and Levi, and obviously they deserve those highlights. Like, they're incredible. But it kind of felt like the rest of the trials just kind of got pushed to the side. So when they offered me CJI, it was like a no-brainer for me. No one really cares that I'm even going to ADCC, so why not? And obviously the money. And then, Craig being who he is. It was, yeah. Sorry, just like even thinking about that experience and reliving it, I can't really picture it, man. I remember doing the submission. I remember standing up and probably waving my arms around like a dickhead. I remember what was really cool was when I looked over at the boys who were coaching me, like from my perspective, just above them were 5 or 6 people that had come to watch me, and they were screaming. Everybody else in the crowd was kind of standing there milling about because the match was over and nothing much was happening, and they were still losing their minds like 10 minutes later. that was really cool. So cool. Yeah, it was. And then like past that, like it was like the next 2 hours until I had my next match. We had even talked about it. Like, imagine you do ADCC, right? And then you do a really good job on the first day, and all of a sudden your phone's blowing up. So how do you sort of moderate your emotions leading into the second day? And my logic was just don't look at your phone. And then the very first thing I did after the Victor Hugo match was like, call my missus, call everyone, looked at my phone again. I was just on a different planet after that. Like, I was not me anymore. I was definitely not right. But one thing that happened was my guts were a little bit crook, right? So I went off to the bathroom, and my mate Ali is sitting in they had like a bunch of different staging areas, like a warm-up mat just before you walk out, right behind the stage. And then there was a sort of a locker room or warm-up area where we were all sort of gathering to like train a little bit before we went out. So between those was the bathroom, and my mate Ali was waiting for me when I'd gone to the bathroom, and Nate Diaz comes up to him, like freaking Nate Diaz, and he's like, and the thing was, we couldn't speak, man. Like we weren't there. Like it was just a really surreal moment. Nate Diaz comes up to him and he's like, "Hey man, your boy just subbed Victor Hugo. What was his name?" And this is like my best friend Ali. He's like, I don't know. he just completely forgot. And then Nate's like, "Oh yeah, me either, man. All right, good job." And then like walks off. And that was it. That was it for like the next 3 hours until I had another match. It was just a complete trip out. In that time, I met Victor, and he just turned out to be the like sickest cunt of all time. Like he was so friendly. He had you know when you like it's like you go to a completely new environment and you expect people to be vaguely bitchy. It just wasn't that at all. Like everyone was so friendly. Everyone was really cool about it, and him especially. He really sort of showed his true colors there. Like,
yeah, he was like that on the podcast with us, wasn't he? He was super humble about it. He was, he spoke really highly of you, and he just said, like, he got caught, and he learns from it, and it was, he was such a nice bloke about it. So good. Because some people do get a bit salty with stuff like that, don't they? They make excuses, or they, I was this or that, and, he didn't. He's just like, so it's all good.
Man, yeah, no, he really carried himself like a champ after that, man. Like, full respect to him. He's an absolute
especially
legend.
Because of how much money's on the line that he could have potentially won. You know what I mean? Like, like you said, like obviously he was pretty much him and Nicky's the favourite, and
rightly so, right?
Yeah, rightly so. And then like, to get got caught by someone that he probably was unaware of, and it must have, he handled it like a boss, mate.
Bro, fair play to him being unaware as well. Like, far out. I think up to that point, I had 10 matches in about 10 years. So,
mad, mate.
I assumed that you was like a serial competitor in Australia just to be there. I thought like, you must have been out there like a serial competitor. For you to do like 10 matches in 10 years and be there, that must have been.
That's not exactly true.
That's
bro.
just crazy. But no, but I know what you mean. Like that's just crazy, isn't it? Like,
I think I was known as a bit of a gym hero, to be fair, and I think that was like probably
the way,
yeah, no, I was a bit like that.
Yeah, but
no, he was the best. And then after that, I was like, so many people that I had looked up to were congratulating me for like Marcelo Garcia, bro. Marcelo Garcia congratulated me on that match. I'm like, okay. Thank you very much. I really, really like you. Like, it was crazy, man. Yeah, no, it was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable time.
Yeah, mate, it was mad to see, mate. But I guess like after all of that, I know when you were fighting Santos afterwards in the second match, and you did great in that as well. Obviously, you lost the decision, but I think you took the first round, and then I think you got the last two. But I know the commentary team were commenting that you just seemed happy to be there, and that like you weren't maybe sort of getting after it like he was, and maybe that's why he edged it. I mean, do you agree with their comments there? And maybe like, was you hitting that high of what you just achieved fighting Hugo and all of that sort of recognition you just got in those 3 hours? Did that impact it at all, do you think?
I definitely hit a massive high, right? But I think saying that impacted the result is sort of would maybe be able to be perceived as taking something away from Inacio, which I don't think is fair at all. He did a good game, won, right? So I would like to think that regardless of the emotions I was experiencing, that my game would sort of would work. But bro, usually what I'll do, right, is if it's difficult to make a connection to someone, like say they keep walking to north-south, or say they're doing stack passes off their knees, like they just, how bigger fellas will drop to their knees, connect their hands, and lift your hips off the mat, and you're kind of stuck there a little bit, right, if you can't separate their grip. So I'll kind of feed, or say you're stuck in a stacked leg drag, something like this. I'll kind of feed people with this reaction because I'm quite good at at attacking from that, and I'll use that as a way to make a connection. Like I find making a connection, particularly to people who have the intention of disengaging in nogi, is probably the most difficult part, right? Like people's reactions tend to fall into two categories. They're either going to re-attack either with barambolas or crab rides or leg locks, in which case that's actually great for the bottom player because they're making the connection themselves. They're connecting themselves to you. As long as you can defend the footlock, you can climb their back. I think a good example of that is like Levi with Oliver Taza, right? Like Oliver Taza tried to backstep into the saddle, and I think he actually, if you watch it, he actually did backstep into the saddle, and Levi was able to face roll, put his knee on the mat, and use that to enter a barambolo. So with Inacio, it's kind of the opposite, where he's just trying to, not just trying to, like he was trying to pass, but he was able to disengage from my guard a lot of the time past that first round. So I think what my perception of that match was that first round was like a 1 RM. Like I put everything into getting to that like fucking unit's leg. And I think both him and Victor Hugo, bro, they were like 115 to 120. Like I think they were 118 kilos or something. And bro, when I weighed in, it said 95. I was wearing my backpack, my shoes. Like I walked in, I weighed in. I wasn't that big, you know what I mean? And this sounds like an excuse. I would like to think my game would work regardless. With him, what I'll usually do is I'll let them go towards north-south and I'll attack like a wrong way triangle. You know, I don't know what it's called in other places, but you know, say you're teaching someone to do a triangle on their first day and you'll say like hamstring curl over their neck and lock the triangle. And you would have seen in the match, actually at CJI, Owen O'Flanagan was able to attack like sort of an inversion into a triangle on Andrew Tackett. And then he was immediately posturing out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like immediately he wasn't even able to like completely lock the triangle. So my solve for this exact problem is to lock the triangle the other way and put your quad over the back of their head because it touches their chin to their chest and they're not able to posture. Because I find posturing to be the most obvious issue with attacking a triangle in nogi, right? Mm-hmm. So that's usually my solve for that. And with him, he was such a fucking barrel, bro. I couldn't lock my legs. Like it wasn't like it wasn't him disengaging. It was just that my jiu-jitsu just did not work in that situation, right? So I think in his next match, we kind of saw what you would do with someone whose intention is to disengage and then pass with leg drags and north-south passing and things like this. Felipe Andrew had the perfect game for it, which is where he attacked K-guard, right? And then he went to a fully locked 50-50. And you kind of have to accept a shootout. And that actually was something that I intentionally don't do, right? Like I'll either go towards the saddle from K-guard or I'll go to like a matrix backtake like Tommy Langica does from K-guard. And that's because I don't feel that I'm as adept at attacking leg locks as other people, or I didn't at the time at least. So I would avoid the shootout altogether. And I felt that 50-50 was, it's like in the name, right? It's 50-50. They can attack you, you can attack them. So I avoided it altogether. But it's such a good strategy for someone who plays like that. So Felipe Andrew did it to Inacio in his next match. And it's exactly this. I've had this problem before and I should have recognized it at the time. I competed at the trials against this guy, Bob Frias, and I had the same exact issue where I would get to the legs and he was able to freeze knee line and disengage. And then Declan Moody competed against that guy at the CJI trials. And it was such an aha moment for me because as soon as he got the opportunity, he put the guy in a fully locked 50-50. And then when forced to play a leg lock shootout with Declan was able to get the better of it, attacking an inside heel hook, right? So I think if I were to do that match again in the future, I would take the opportunity to go all the way to 50-50 and make sure, or maybe even outside Ashy, something where they have to stay engaged and then accept the shootout that happens there. So it's like either they get you or you get them, but something explosive is about to happen, you know? So it's like a good leg locker who wants to engage on you, saddle's better, or attacking the back is better. But then someone who wants to disengage, then a fully locked 50-50. Oh, you know when this happened, man? is this annoying? Like, sorry to bang on.
No,
like,
mate, I love it. Yeah. I'm literally like, I'm just listening. Yeah, it's great.
I was just having a proper jiu-jitsu autism rant. Bro, that was the best joke Craig ever made because it low-key made it awesome to be autistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, keep going.
You know when Gordon fought Vinny Magalesh and he kept going to the saddle and then Vinny would take height and he would walk backwards into him and he was able to disengage the saddle nearly every time this way. And then cut to, and I think Vinny actually won that match. It was like a rounds based match. I can't remember the event, but it was the same one where Keenan fought Yuri and hit that crazy sort of rolling reverse omoplata. Anyway, cut to Craig competing against Vinny Magalesh and he goes to 50-50 and that was hideous, the outcome of that, you know? So I think someone it kind of demonstrates the difference in those positions. Like Craig was able to put a bend in his leg and as a result, like fully snapped that guy's ankle. Where Gordon just didn't. Yeah, that was hideous, man. But he's a good sport about it too, but you see comments every now and again of him having a laugh about it, which I think is like good on him, man.
You cry.
So yeah, mate, it was cool, man. And obviously we got CJI 2 coming up, which we'll chat about in a sec. But we've kind of alluded a couple of times to obviously your training and your background and stuff. So let's get into that because again, you know, that sort of stuff for us certainly is something that we're not really kind of too clued up on about you. So when did you start training?
I started training MMA on the Central Coast, like I think 2010 or 2009, something like that. And the Central Coast has some crazy fighters, man. Like I think Ross Pearson actually runs his gym there now. Do you know Ross Pearson from the UFC?
Yeah,
back in the day?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He has an MMA gym there now. I wish that had been there when I was there. And then, so Jamie Malaki's from there. I used to train with him back in the day. And there were so many good fighters that you don't know as well, man. There were like Australia's crazy for that. That is like the story of Australia, having really, really talented people that you just don't know.
You're too far away from everywhere, mate. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. And when people come here, they kind of sort of sometimes see the wrong parts of it, right? Like there is a pretty vibrant community here. You just don't get to see it that much. But yeah, I started there and there was a really cool community of people. The gym that I was at, I don't know what happened. I went to Unity. I went to uni. I came back and it was like firebombed one day. I guess someone was, I don't know, man. I guess someone was selling drugs out of it and someone didn't like it. I actually don't know the story. It's really nothing to do with me, but couldn't train there anymore. And then I stopped training for a little bit because I was at uni. When I was driving one day past a Gracie Baja, because it's like part of everyone's story to have been at Gracie Baja at some point, right? I like looked in the window and half the people that I used to train with were training in the gi at Gracie Baja. So when I started training again, it was all in the gi. I moved to Sydney to train with a guy called Bruno Alves. He was from it was Gracie Baja, Pernambuco, which is where like Braulio Estima, Victor Estima, Otavio Souza, guys like this are from. It was one of those very big GB gyms back in the day, and that one split off into ZR team, right? Zahajola. Yeah. And then when Zahajola split, Bruno split as well. And so obviously I went with him. And GB being what it is, lost about like most of my friends, right? Just because you guys don't train at GB, do you?
No.
Like, am I just panning your friends and family right now?
Yeah, mock away, mate. Mock away.
Yeah, mad.
Everyone does.
Like, it's not a shot against GB. It's just what happened to me, right? Like, people just stopped talking to me because I wasn't a GB anymore.
Yeah.
We've heard that a lot, mate.
Yeah, it does happen. And then I was training with Bruno for a long time. He was a successful competitor back in the day. And then I met Levi while I was training there. He was training maybe 15 minutes away. And Bruno sort of ended his competitive career, and he did really well. He won Masters Worlds. He fought like Formiga. I don't know if like really, really good competitors at Masters Worlds. Clive Gracie, one of them as well, right? And then I had started training with Levi in the end of 2018, and he was actually training in Sydney when he did his run at Euros. He did what else did he do while I was training in Sydney? Euros, And then I think it was also Spider. So those were my first experiences when I saw him train for Euros, my first experiences with someone who had that kind of game that I really wanted to have, specifically Barambolos. But it wasn't just Barambolos, man. Like, you kind of see flashes of what he can do in his matches. He's phenomenal just about everywhere. Like his passing, remember Cade sits down for a joke and then Levi just immediately runs through his guard.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know.
Yeah, like,
you see him just like scrambling, like, oh shit.
Yeah, bro, that's my experience with that guy every day. Like when I first went there, I felt like I was learning jiu-jitsu for the first time. I was sort of at a point where I wasn't that interested anymore, and he sort of showed me that, like, sort of the artistic expression of it. Like, basically, if your goal competitively is to create a funnel where people are kind of playing your game instead of theirs, what he actually knows is so much more than what you can actually see in a competition. I think anyone that's trained with him can sort of see that, and his attention to detail and his approach to it is pretty phenomenal. And the amount of output it takes to become that good is pretty impressive as well. So, like, as an example, okay, actually this is pretty funny. So before Euros, right, he's about to go compete against Luas Kanard. He'd just gotten his black belt from Murilo Santana, and me and my mate show up and we're like, man, crazy what you did at brown belt. Like, remember, he had that highlight and it was to the strokes. I can't even find it on YouTube. I tried to send it to people more recently. And it's just him baramboloing every single person at brown belt worlds, right? And me and my mate are saying, man, what a great job. It's just a shame you're in Luas Kanard's division now. And he goes, man, I actually see holes. Like, he just says, I see holes. Like, he's Levi, he's very confident. He's like, I see holes in this guy's game. We're like, fucking where? Where are the holes in Luas Kanard's game, man? They don't exist. Like, the guy, his catch line is fucking be precise. Like, the guy is incredible, right? But he wasn't just bullshitting. Levi wasn't just bullshitting. So he talked a little bit about it with me one day, and there are some very cool matches where you get to see exactly what he means. There was a match with AJ Souza and Luas Kanard at Copa Podio, and Luas Kanard goes for, I think it was a butterfly sweep, and then AJ Souza was able to turn it into a wedging back take. So, like, pretty similar to what Kynan did to Gordon in their Pans match in 2018, right? Their NoGi Pans match, except this was in the gi. So he goes for a butterfly sweep, he turns it into a barambolo. It's just that the butterfly sweep was sort of what allowed him to get to the wedge. At the time, no one knew like any of those terms, but he's still doing it. So it was pretty amazing. So, and AJ was able to get to his back, and then, like, he actually won that match, I think, on Copa Podio. It's on YouTube. I should watch it again. And then, so there was that. He knows a wedging back take works, right? And then he sees later on, I think it was Espen Matheson's first year at Worlds, and Espen was one of these guys that when he's in De La Riva, he'll take a cross collar and he'll do a stomp, right? Like, he'll stomp the guy's other leg, and it causes them to put both hands on the mat. So he'll stomp the far leg, pull the collar, it makes them put their hands on the mat, and he'll use this to enter a barambolo. And then Espen lost that match, but it kind of did show that works, right? And then Levi, it's his first major at black belt, right? I think it was maybe his third match at black belt. No, that's not true. But it wasn't far into his black belt career at all. Like, it was way too early to be doing that shit. And he does the stomp bolo, enters the wedge, and then uses it to score 2, which is what I think ultimately won in the match, right? So it's like he's saying things that are completely outlandish. Like, he says, do difficult things easy, and he says, I see holes in this guy's game that no one sees holes in. But then, bro, he really did, and he proved it. Like, it wasn't just complete bullshit. It's not a fantasy, man. He really did it. And then past that, man, he really showed us how to train. Like, we would drill for an hour before we sparred. So, like, 6 5-minute rounds each, and then we'd do sparring. And then sparring, which is fucking psychotic, was 15 8-minute rounds each day, which I don't know why we did that, but I would see
15 8-minute rounds?
Yes, brother. 15 8-minute rounds. He would do that every day. Like, I would do that in 50-50 and kind of talk to my mates while it happened, but he would do 15 8-minute rounds every day, and it wasn't easy once he was taking. And at that time, a lot of people from all over Sydney were coming to, because where we were was in Town Hall, which is like in the CBD, everyone was coming to the CBD to train with him because there was a bit of a buzz around him, right? And then he was exactly as amazing as they were saying. And then honestly, I would show up to drill with him at that time, and he would have already been there for about an hour doing some S&C workout. Like, he was so dedicated. Like, what he did in 2019, he earned that shit, man. He did that. He did Pans, where he fought Renato Canuto. And you know what I love about that match with Renato Canuto is Josh Hing is in the background saying, this is the I don't want to do anything guard. And then immediately as he's saying it, Levi takes the guy's back, right? And then he had the shit go at Worlds, right? And then he did Spider after that, where he won the $100,000 US, which is a very good exchange rate in Australia. So for me, that year where I got to see him train like that and see what kind of understand what jiu-jitsu was, like, there was the skill building that happened with the amount of training we were doing, and then turning that into a game that you could apply to a tactical situation in a match. Those things together sort of really reframed jiu-jitsu for me and made me really fall in love with it. And I would really credit that year where I was training with Levi, Tom Strabitsky, Ariel Tabak, Nico Mikulicic. Declan came through a couple times. That was like, he would come through for about a week at a time. That was epic. Like a lot of people I wouldn't be able to mention. Like, I can't remember, to be honest, right now, but really reframe my approach to jiu-jitsu, where I just started to fall in love with it again. And I think that to this day carries me, because I just don't see an end to the way that I can express myself through jiu-jitsu, and sort of helping other people realize that as well, with just how much there is to it is one of the best things in the world, for sure.
Yeah, mate, definitely. And so what year was this where we're talking now?
That was 2019. Yeah, 2019, we were training there, and then COVID happened, and we got SWA, and now I'm training here.
Yeah, okay. So during that COVID period, I'm not sure I think the lockdown in Australia was pretty hardcore, wasn't it? I think, from what I remember.
Yeah, it was totally fucked.
Yeah, okay. So you pretty much probably couldn't train for a couple of years, or did you manage to sneak out and avoid the police somehow and get a few sessions in?
Yeah, bro. No, that is exactly what we did.
Yeah.
So, like, we went to one gym. It was called Westside Jiu-Jitsu, and we all still train together, actually. We called it the Secret Kumite in the Woods, right? Dumb name, but we were right across the road from a cemetery. It was at Westside Jiu-Jitsu, and like, the cops got called on us there because we were absolute dopes, man. Like, COVID still hit us. We were training every day, but it was dumb. Like, we would show up at midday, and then we'd talk for about 4 hours, and then we'd do 6 sparring rounds, and then fuck off home, right? Yeah. And then I think at one point we all went to get a coffee, and people saw us, called the cops on us. And then Legend next door, the mechanic next door, runs out the back, knocks on the back door, says there's a paddy wagon at the front. So the guy who owned the gym, his name's Yong, turns off all the lights, opens the door, and he's just pouring sweat. Like, he's wearing an open gi. This guy's ripped. He's pouring sweat. And these 6 cops are at the front. And he's actually got a video of it, which is pretty funny. And they're like, is anyone inside? And he's like, no. He's like, are you guys doing jiu-jitsu in there? He's like, no, I'm just doing push-ups. Something like that. We're just hiding around the corner. And then one of the guys that trained with us, he's actually like a really good friend of mine now. His name's Ali. He had a gym next to his cafe in Auburn, which is where I am right now. And we ended up there. We ended up training there for the rest of COVID. The cops got called on us there as well, but we like did the big prohibition training where we were kind of like hiding at the back of the room while the cops were at the front. It was exciting. That part of it was really exciting. I don't know about the value of that training, but it was better than sitting at home, like, doing nothing, right? And then, but we honestly bonded pretty well. So that was mad. And then now I'm here. I've been here ever since. Yeah. It's like the gym's going crazy. So it's mad.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess like sort of a bit of training, obviously MMA, sort of into jiu-jitsu then, and then sort of, I guess, post-COVID and sort of throughout a little bit, you've obviously been hitting it a bit harder and and doing it a bit more full time. During that period, like what were you doing for work? Were you coaching, or did you have like a normal job? Like what were you doing?
So my missus works at there's like a few very high-end schools in Sydney. They're called GPS schools. And
okay.
She works at one of them. I actually ran the jiu-jitsu program there. It was a big rugby school, like rugby union. And they wanted to have a jiu-jitsu program. I ran that. That's what I did during COVID, man. And then after that, I started working at SWA. I had a good run, actually. I had a good run in the gi at the World Pro. And I also really loved running kids classes. So I already had the gym already. And I ran one of the kids classes just because I was bored that day. And I had a lot of fun. And Ollie was like, man, do you want a piece of this gym? And I was like, yeah, fucking oath I do. And then it was like, right then, when we sorted it all out, I turned to my missus and I was like, man, I think this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Do you want to have kids? And then, that's what we did. Now we've got Elle, and honestly, that was like, maybe that's what it was with CJI as well, man. Like between having Elle and the gym, like I was sort of a bit more financially secure and not as stressed about the result of every comp. So I just felt like there was nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I just had kind of a blast. Like it was a surreal moment, but I was having so much fun doing it. And it just felt like one of those preparation and opportunity moments, you know?
Yeah. And where you are at the moment then, mate, are you kind of like thinking, obviously you're in CJI too, which we'll chat about in a sec, but you know, you mentioned that you haven't competed much over the years and maybe now you're in this position, you're feeling a bit more relaxed about it. But like, what's the aspirations? Is it to start competing a bit more now and see what you can achieve? Or is it just because this is an opportunity again, so why not? But your kind of passion really is around coaching and business and stuff. What do you think? So
definitely my passion is around jiu-jitsu. Like it's kind of just how I've always related to the world, right? Like I've been in Abu Dhabi that year. I'd be there with a guy that I don't speak the same language as, clearly don't have much in common with, but we'll train together and we'll have a great time. You know what I mean? And even some of the skills we have are pretty similar. And it's kind of a fast way to become friends.
Yeah, it's a universal language.
Yeah, man. Like I said that to Owen Jones once, exactly what you just said. I said to Owen Jones, you run into someone who does jiu-jitsu and it's like you finally find someone in a foreign country that speaks the same language as you, right? And he just said, that is lame. That is a lame thing to say.
sounds like what Owen Jones would say, mate.
Yeah. But I agree, man. Like he probably does too. Like I agree with you. It's true, and it's a really connecting thing. And I've seen like the good that it can do for people. For me, when it comes to competing, I think there's something that I have that other people don't do that I can offer. I think I've only had a few matches and I can really show a lot more jiu-jitsu. People are really sort of supportive with wanting to see more of my game, which I really appreciate, you know. And I'm happy to sort of fight anyone to show more. Like I didn't really get a chance at CJI to compete against with anyone in my weight class, and that reverse triangle, like as an example, that reverse triangle, I couldn't lock my legs around that guy, right? He was a really big guy. Like, and I really feel like it leads into a lot more of my game. That's one example of probably thousands, right? Where you compete against different body types and you get to show more of your game. And that's just what I'm looking forward to. I really do like competing. I like the thrill of it. I like that it's another way to make money for my family. It's like a really, really engaging activity as hobbies go, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man.
I'm just hugely excited, you know?
Yeah, cool. And talking of your game then, so obviously we've seen the guard. I watched your trials highlights run last night and obviously, sort of K-guard spamming on everybody. I mean, looking at you playing guard, especially again in CJI, you've obviously got like really good dexterity in your legs. Your ability to invert looks effortless. And, I'm one of these guys that I don't know if it's like a joint thing or just like a lack of mobility thing or what, but the idea of going inverted for me, I'm like, fuck that. Like, I feel like my neck's going to snap.
Don't do
Nah, no way,
What's your
man.
thing? What's your thing then?
It's probably more of a supine guard and then kind of like up into like sort of top passing, I think. But it's like more kind of old school jiu-jitsu, like just kind of heavy top pressure, try and pass the legs, control, mount, back, strangle.
I've heard that works pretty well.
Yeah, sometimes until someone starts trying to tickle your feet and then you start getting a bit flustered. But but yeah, I mean, I watch good sort of inverted guard players, and I feel like there's got to be like a degree of natural ability to be able to be that good at it. And I always like to ask, because obviously you worked with Levi, who's obviously got an incredibly good guard as well. I mean, did you always have a natural ability to do that type of thing, like get your knees into your armpits and be able to fold in half, or is it something you've actively worked on?
Well, I kind of mentioned I came from MMA, right? Which is like these days you can pull guard in MMA, I guess. You got like Fabricio Verdun. You got people pulling K guard now in MMA, which is mad. Doing heel hooks. The Brian Hall had that whole thing, right? So I think coming from MMA, I definitely did more wrestling. But I always liked that game, right? Like when I saw Imanari rolls, I like that kind of thing. Maybe it's just liking it, right? I think the reason I play it now is just because I had a really good sense of direction on how to do it. Like if you talk to, I trained every day with Ariel Tabo, right, for a very long time. And he actually wrote the book on it, right? He has the guard retention instructional with NoGi Giles. And between him and then learning what Levi calls laser beams, which is just how to create frames when you're on bottom, I think having the direction definitely helps when it comes to creating a game built around that. And I think also just for me personally, there was having like the understanding of how to do it, but there was also just actually seeing people doing it at a really high level. Like I think there was Levy Giles at 2019 ADCC, right? And he would do K-guard where and then use that to get to 50-50 and heel hook all the big fellas, which is obviously incredible. Like Lucky's absolute legend. And then after that, I saw Mikey Musumeci go and do roughly a similar thing to go to a double 50, right? I think that was in 2021 at Who's Number One with Lucas Pinheiro. And sort of between those and then past that, there's obviously Pato and stuff now. I think there was a really good case for translating a gi-based game to no-gi where the priority is leg entanglements over finishing, where if you can create a strong entanglement out of every position, then you're quite likely to finish more matches. I think for me, actually, when it came to my trials run, I had the first trials run and I could finish like fucking no one. I knew how to do a Mikey lock, right? But it's because the Mikey lock is kind of forfeiting attacking a heel hook, right? You do the saddle, you put the toes next to your ear. It's a heel hook, but it's like you don't need to know how to do heel hooks to do it. But the best example I saw of that was Taylor Pearman's run, right? Where he did the ADCC trials and went from the saddle to inside ashi. Everyone was kind of stuck. I think these days people are catching on to how to defend from inside ashi. Like there was the match with, I'm going to butcher his name, man, but there's PJ Barch defended a really strong inside ashi attack from the Polish guy who's not Mateusz Jasinski. He did double gold at Brown Belt Worlds. You know what I'm talking about? He's doing CJI 277.
Pavel Jaworski?
Him, yes, absolute. Sorry, man, but he's an absolute weapon, like that guy. And PJ was able to turn it into outside ashi and then able to hand fight and freeze heel and everything. So I think people are catching on to how to defend it, and which just creates more of excitement around the position for me, like solving those problems. But yeah, prioritizing the entanglement over the finish was huge for me because it meant that the gi could translate to no-gi very, very well. And I still see that as being the case. I trained like mostly no-gi, right? But having a gi-based game was such a handy thing, especially when it comes to guard retention, because like no-gi is guard retention on easy mode. If you see what people have to go through to retain their guard at Worlds, like gi Worlds, brother, like this is difficult.
Declan talked about training with you in the gi and said that it was fucking horrendous. So
he's exaggerating, man. He's great.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I imagine he is. Yeah.
But I think like because we've seen you obviously at ADCC and then at CJI, I almost forget that you train in the gi. Like, what is your split of gi and no-gi training now? Are you still in the gi a lot?
Nah, man. I teach classes. I train like twice a week in the gi, but that's about it, man. But what are you gonna do? Like, I got a family. No gi is where you make money. That's it. You got to do it, right?
Yeah, that's fair, man.
And also, it's fun. The culture around it is epic.
Yeah, it's very different.
That's what I love about CJI, right? Is Craig gets the culture of jiu-jitsu. Like I think there's that whole, like, right now there's that big argument between UFC, BJJ and CJI, right? In that the format and the, what is it, a pool, right? Like, just
a bowl versus
a pit.
Yeah, a bowl. Okay, a bowl, right? It's like, it still looks like it's out of Lords of Dogtown, right? And I think, like, the form, I think Craig has a legitimate grievance there in that it's like, it is a format. I understand that the rounds format comes from boxing and that the pit comes from karate combat, but what the UFC is doing is clearly trying to market to a wider audience, which is obviously a great thing for everyone. I think where Craig has the grievances with the exclusive contracts. It's like, if we're trying to grow the sport, then having an exclusive contract where people can't compete on his event is kind of rough, man. Like, I get it. I would be frustrated, I think. Right?
Yeah, I understand it. It's just one of those things, isn't it, where, I don't know. I'm always like undecided on it, because from the athlete's point of view, getting those contacts is a really good opportunity in it to earn good money. But then I understand that Craig is right in what he's saying, because then it's limiting them of their exposure as well, like, and what they can potentially earn, because it's not like as if you're doing CGI for fucking no money, is it? Like, those athletes will still earn potentially really good money, So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Mm. But he's right. They're basically taking what CGI is doing and just doing it as a show, and then calling it their own thing, really.
I think where it's different is that Craig understands the culture of jiu-jitsu. Like, at the first one, for me, what stood out, beyond like Hanato Laranja, right? Like, even having that bloke there shows he loves jiu-jitsu and he's been around it forever, right? Like, 27-time world champion and that, and having him actually coach him on a microphone.
Mate, it's the most weirdest thing I've watched.
Bro, it was bizarre. But the thing is, if you did jiu-jitsu for a really long time, it was kind of a nod to those people while still being marketable to everyone else. And then beyond that, bro, my favorite thing about it was that Gabby Garcia was sort of the main event, right? Because, and I'm actually like a culprit for this as well, of hating on Gabby Garcia. I would see Mackenzie Dern or someone like Michelle Nicolini or something like that, like, compete against her, and I would obviously be cheering for them. Like, I was like, why is Gabby doing this? It's so unfair. And then I sort of forgot because like, I'm like, I see all this stuff through a computer screen or a TV screen, right? I forget that these people are people. And what that must have been doing to her all those years. And then now she's at CJI and there's tens of thousands of people watching her be the star of the show and everyone's cheering for her. Bro, it was actually something that was so heartwarming to be in the crowd for, because it was, everyone it totally flipped the script on what we thought about Gabby Garcia. I love that, man. And that's like Craig using his position for something extremely positive. I really appreciated it, man. And I think that is the point of difference between him and most other organizations, is that he understands the culture of jiu-jitsu and he kind of loves it, right? Like, you can just tell.
Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. Even watching on the screen, I thought like that Gabby and Craig match was really nice. And just the moment they had at the end, and I can't remember the exact words, but I can remember thinking at the time when she was talking about it, how much it clearly meant to her as well. So yeah, I get that. I guess where UFC are strong is they're obviously just monster promoters, aren't they? And don't get me wrong, Craig's done an amazing job with CJI, but what Dana and the guys have done with the UFC from where that was back in the day. And their ability to market individual athletes and build them up so well. And again, that doesn't necessarily I guess it does help the sport if you create stars in it, because then people will watch. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But there's definitely a few people that I were hoping to see that we're not now because of the UFC involvement. But
I guess we'll see if it will ever become really mainstream now. There's the opportunity in it, because then we're never going to get anything bigger than UFC picking it up. We're never going to, if they're going to create, get regular people getting into jiu-jitsu and watching jiu-jitsu, it's now, isn't it? Like, if that show is good, and the people they've chosen they look good, but if they're not too fucking weird, you know what I mean, it might actually get some of like the mainstream people into jiu-jitsu, even just watching it and understand it a bit more, because I think that's the issue as well, isn't it? It's a bit of genius actually doing a show behind it, because if you just watch a regular person still just watch the jiu-jitsu match, even if it is done by the UFC, they're going to be like, what the fuck are we watching here? Whereas they might now understand what it's about a little bit more, and about what they're going through, and, you know, create that character in the story.
Yeah, and I think obviously the UFC, it's like it's, you know, the original Ultimate Fighter with Forrest and Bonner. You know, that was the turning moment for the UFC back in the day, wasn't it? So I guess if they use that same approach to jiu-jitsu, you never know.
Yeah, got Mikey in there just having autism spasms all the time. It'll be great.
I knew you were talking about him. You were saying someone not too weird.
I actually really like Mikey, but I can't wait to watch it. It'll be class.
I love Mikey.
He's funny, mate. He's the best, and he just...
Bro, I love Mikey's jiu-jitsu. I love it.
Oh, mate, Mikey's jiu-jitsu is the best, isn't it? Like, you can't deny it, you know what I mean? Like, he's the best.
Yeah, very systematic, mate. It's cool to watch. So yeah, I guess you're right. I guess NoGi is definitely where the money's at now, and probably will be moving forward. And then just going back to your guard real quick, mate. So just to give our audience something to take away, because obviously it's, you know, you talked in quite good detail already about, you know, some of the kind of I guess things that you're kind of looking to achieve when grappling to maintain, you know, sort of a good guard and maybe set up some of these attacks. But when you're coaching and you're talking to people about, I guess the small individual battles that you might need to win in order to be able to retain a good guard. And obviously, you know, you did very well retaining like that late stage guard as well. So when you're thinking about coaching and kind of verbally explaining like those individual battles and small things that you need to achieve to be able to maintain a really good guard, what would that normally be?
So like if you're playing guard, close guard's obviously the best one, right? So I would start there, right? So how do you take one line from close guard to the finish position? So I would teach from close guard to the finishing position. So as an example, we'll just say K guard. So you go from close guard, you scoop the leg, you get to K guard, you go from K guard to 50-50, saddle, the back, whatever, right? But you're understanding that close guard is the central position. Past that, it would be guard retention built around getting back to close guard. If your guard's open, but your feet are aimed under the armpits, you still kind of can understand what you're aiming for, right? So now if you have someone walk towards north-south, now your feet will point like this. But as you unwind the position, you'll understand that you can still go from close guard and from close guard to K guard and so on. So you start with the end point and then work sort of steps back on the game. It's kind of like if you were passing, you would pass layers of the guard, right? Like this is the thing Keenan used to talk about. Close guard to half guard or knee shield or whatever to half guard, and then progress through pins till you get to a finishing position. It's kind of that in reverse, right? So you start with the finishing position and work outwards until you're completely disconnected, and then you make connections from there. Mm-hmm. In terms of how to actually make that happen, it's like incredibly, it takes, there's a lot of, it's one of those things that seems complicated, but the application of it's pretty simple, but you do need to actually be shown it. It's really hard just to say, like, general advice would be like, keep your knees to your chest, your feet facing them and your head between your knees, right? And then you just become like a fucking Beyblade. So wherever they put, you're going to spin.
Fucking Beyblade, mate.
I don't know, man.
No, mate, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard Beyblade in years, mate. It's my childhood.
But you get the idea, right? Like a spin.
Yeah.
It's that. It's like there's obviously more to it, but that's the general principle around it. You do need to make it simple. Anything that's simple, you can apply under pressure, and obviously applying it under pressure is what we're aiming for.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And do you do any like specific mobility or yoga or anything like that, or do you just have this ability to kind of tuck up into a board and sort of invert and everything else?
I do a goofy ass warm up, bro. Like honestly, I do, but it's not really it's not. I wouldn't say strictly it is mobility, right? So I do pigeon pose with like PNF. I think any stretches you do with PNF, I think like any sort of activated stretching is going to be way more beneficial. I wouldn't fuck with static stretching before training. It just does nothing for me. I noticed no improvement, but I noticed with that, I'll focus specifically on one, hamstring activation, pigeon pose on both sides. Past that, generally speaking, I can tuck up like a ball, right? And then a couple of rounds in, I'm good to go. And I'm 33, man, so it's not that bad. Like if you can touch your toes, right? If you can touch your toes and you can do a decent pigeon pose, then you'll be okay. Like you can play that game. So maybe it does involve a bit of specialized training, but man, jiu-jitsu is pretty specialized training, and taking 10 minutes before you roll every day. I think the reality of why people don't play that game, bro, is because for the first 6 months of playing that game, you get fucked up. Like, it is what it is, man. People can just walk in a circle around your guard and fall into north-south. And like, until you learn, because you're learning new physical patterns on top of learning new techniques and having to apply that under pressure, it's like applying a technique under pressure is nearly at odds with learning a new technique, right? Like competing is nearly at odds with learning jiu-jitsu, because you go through this period where you've got to learn, you've got to develop new techniques and be able to apply them, and you've got to have a really open mind for that. And then when you go to a competition, suddenly you've got to be the most stubborn prick of all time and make what you know work right now, you know? So those two mindsets are nearly at odds with one another. But yeah, as far as stretching, man, pigeon pose, hamstring stretch, good to go. It's not that hard. Past that, you can do loaded stretching like Jefferson curls and stuff like that. I think I'm the worst person to give advice about this, but that stuff works for me. Definitely talk to someone who knows more.
Mate, he's asking all this for himself, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, all of this is for himself, mate.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but you know, it is just about your perspective, mate. So yeah, it's just good to hear. And your typical practice, I mean, I'm sure it will probably change sort of day to day, but I mean, what's your kind of preference in regard to modalities to develop skill? Is it drilling? Is it kind of talking through stuff? Is it kind of like ecological training? Is it sort of free sparring? What's your preference typically?
Right. So I think for skill development, longer rounds are much better, right? Like spending a lot of time in positions where you can't use a timer or maybe athleticism to escape is going to deepen your understanding of the position, like extremely. So I think that's why you get to see, I was saying before, I think one time I saw Joseph Chen just spend 30 minutes hanging out in J-point, right? And then just seeing the reactions that he was likely to get from there and sort of dealing with those reactions as they came. And it became quite fluid, his progression through the series of reactions he was getting. So obviously, I think there are many approaches to developing skill, but I think spending a lot of time in the positions you want to learn about is the best way to develop skill. But applying it to a competition is nearly the opposite of that. I think we talked about it a little bit before, where you'll see schools like AOJ do 3-minute rounds on repeat, right? And I think the purpose of that is you need to take a game and sort of turn it into a format that you can apply to a tactical situation, right? So say, as an example, okay, so say it's an IBJJF match and there's someone, you're down on points, but you're on top and they're playing guard. And you need a situation where you can score. And passing a guard when you're down on points is probably the most hopeless you could feel, right? Like if you can pass, great. But imagine you're like you're trying to pass pulling meal. That's not going to happen, right? So to create a situation where you can win that match, and you've only got 3 minutes to do it, like say maybe you could attack a footlock and go out of bounds. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying it's in line with like the ethos of jiu-jitsu or whatever, but maybe you could create a like scramble by using side-to-side passing and then going out of bounds, because the rule there is the ref resets you standing if they can't create the same position. And if you've only got 3-minute rounds, you're going to learn those tactical, you're going to have tactical considerations to make that work, right? So I think shorter rounds for competition, and also it probably helps your cardio, shorter rounds for competition and longer rounds for skill development. And for me, if I like personally, what I do is so at odds with what I do in a commercial gym. Personally, what I do is I'd set the timer for an hour. I'd do like 1 or 2 rounds with people I think are really, really good in positions that I want to learn about, and then I would just roll with them. But maybe the middle ground is 10-minute rounds for skill development and 3-minute rounds for or 3-man switch or something like that for learning new skills. Yeah,
that's cool, man. And again, it was just your own perspective, what you prefer, mate. So I know we've spoke to enough people, mate, and seen enough comments on Instagram to know we're never going to find a one size fits all way of developing skill for fucking jiu-jitsu. So that's cool, man. And we joked about it at the very start, mate, but obviously, yeah, like you've been training for a long time. You run the school. You've achieved some pretty good accolades at this point, and obviously have got one of the biggest comps coming up, and somehow still a brown belt. Versus other people from your neck of the woods achieving a black belt very quickly. And I know gyms are different and everyone's different. But I don't know. Like, help us understand that if you can. Like, I know you don't control your belts, but like, who are you under first of all? And I mean, is there anything that those guys did different that you're aware of? I mean, we'd all have a black belt in 4 years. Don't get me wrong, but
like what Kit did?
Well, Kit and Josh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Saunders, yeah. Yeah, he did it really.
Yeah,
man, he just trained a lot. I used to train a fair bit with him. Not with Kit ever, but I mean, Kit was just phenomenal, right? Like I think he won Brasileiro at like purple belt in Abu Dhabi. The AJP, it was called something else, like UAE JJF at that time, but he was killing everyone at that time. So he kind of deserved the belt. And then Saunders as well, obviously, has achieved a lot. And training with him. When I trained with him, I think he was a blue belt or something like that. He was still a massive unit, but he was a blue belt at that time, and he just put in a lot of work to make that happen. And I think both of those guys, what they have in common, actually, this is total side point, they're hectic at the business of jiu-jitsu, man, especially online content. Like, you can't, everywhere you go, you'll see those guys. And actually, Kit was like one of the first people doing that constraints-based training, right?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Playing games to learn jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why I don't have my belt? So I would get graded through probably Ariel Tabak and Levi, and like these are some of the most talented people in the world, and some of the least organized people in the world, and that and I include myself in that as well, bro. Like I'm hopeless for that kind of thing. It's something we've obviously all talked about, and like I love those guys, you know, and we have a really good relationship. So I mean, it'll happen when it happens, man. It's not impacting my life in any possible way. Past that, actually, the person I got all my belts from, we ended up, bro. It was from a guy who runs a GB school, and we're actually on the news for having a brawl at a jiu-jitsu comp between our gym and his gym. And I don't think I'm getting any more belts through that school anymore. Like, bro, it was bad. We're on like 9 news, bro. And Ali, my mate Ali is on there just full on sideways tackling the wrong guy who obviously he's made up with since. Like Ali's a legend, man. Like no one's going to hold it against him, but it was pretty funny. But I don't think you go from that to then getting graded by them.
No, probably not.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'll get it through Iron Leeway. It happens when it happens, bro. I'm not stressed about it.
Yeah, no, for sure, mate. I just thought it was just funny.
Yeah, I didn't realise you were brown belt. I think everyone would just assume you're a black belt. You know what I mean? Like, so weird, isn't it? Because you're at that level, like the elite level of competition, and you know you're still a brown belt, and then you got hobbyist so who gets a black belt.
There are a few out there, bro. There's like Isaac Michel brown belt.
Is he? Okay, I didn't know that either.
Isaac's a brown belt as well. I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. You just assume, don't you? Just assume they're a black belt because they're at the elite of the sport. In fairness, Owen Jones is, isn't he? Joseph Chen's just got his. Yeah. There's a lot.
Yeah, obviously J-Rod's brown belt, but I guess he's not been training that long, as good as he is. So yeah. No, funny one, but I just thought I'd mention it. Anyway, let's move on. So CJI 2, mate. So obviously coming up in a few months, you're obviously in the Australasia team at 88. I mean, when did you know you were going to be in that team? Has it been for a little while, or was that come recently?
Well, they announced the CJI trials, right? And I didn't, I don't really talk to anyone, man. I just get kind of told what's going on. And I obviously am incredibly flattered to be involved again. I didn't know I was going to be in it. No, when they announced the trials, I sort of, like, you know what Instagram's like, man, you kind of like doing something else and halfway looking at it. And I was like, oh shit, there's a trials. I'll probably have to do it again. And then when it got Craig said I was going to have the spot, I was like, fucking oath. So yeah, no, I didn't know that much ahead of everyone else. But I'm pumped, far out. I don't know how it's going to work. Hey, so it's like running off the ADCC weight classes, right? But it's quintet rules. So, so I guess, but I got told though, that you can, like, anyone can fight anyone of any weight class.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That's a pretty hectic thing. I want to go first, man. I think that's definitely the move in this situation. Is like, you don't know who's going to be on the other team, but I definitely want to go first.
I think like an 88 or around that weight is quite a sensible option because
it's good either way. Isn't it,
it's good either way. Yeah. You can fight a big guy and you can fight a small guy. You know, it's not a bad option, is it?
Yeah. Plus, it just feels awesome to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the person to go last, bro. I don't want to have that pressure on myself. I want to go first. Like, if you go last, that means that you have to submit everyone at that point to then win, right? If you're the last person to go.
Yeah, or it might mean that you don't even get out at all, because if the first dude goes out and if Declan goes out first and just annihilates an entire team, everyone, then you just get this sit easy, man. So,
which he could do.
Yeah.
Which he could do. He's looking good.
He could do, yeah. Yeah, but fuck that noise, bro. I gotta go. Like, can you imagine going there and not competing in front of that crowd? You have to compete. You have to compete, man. That's gonna be different, man. I saw today it was 75% sold out in an arena. Bro, you got to do that. That's gonna be the best thing. I reckon we're all gonna be fighting over who goes first. Like, I think that'd be, especially Declan. He's the friendliest guy in the world, but I'm sure he's a little bit psychotic as well, and he'll want to go first.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be an awesome event. I mean, were you at the trials that you had over there with Giles? Did you go and check him out? Yeah, what did you make of the day? Obviously, we mentioned Kit, and he had such a good fucking run.
Mate, I felt sorry for him having to do the gauntlet and then go into it. It was like, I would have liked to have seen him fresh into the second bit.
But yeah, how was the day, man? It was a long one, huh?
Yeah, I sort of dipped after, like, one of the guys from my gym got hit with the choke, like the famous choke. You know, what do you call it? It's like an head arm Ezekiel thing where instead of going this way, you go this way. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah, the guy with a weird like shoulder mobility to be able to even do that, I think. Yeah.
That's the one. And then actually it was funny. So the guy from my gym's name's Harrison. He got hit by that choke, and then a week later, and then because he got hit by that choke, he trained it all week, and then a week later hit that choke on someone in a super fight, and then made a big deal out of it. It was really funny. And I kind of dipped after that because my brother lives in Melbourne, and I went to see my nephews and stuff. And then when I came back, it was for that main bracket. And then, man, I thought it was going to be Kit or Kenta. When I saw that it announced that those two were doing the bracket, I've trained with Kenta. He's hard as nails. I've competed against Kit one time when I was a purple belt. But I just kind of know him, right? Like, he's just hectic. And I just don't think that goes away if you take a bit of time off. Like, that kind of thing stays with you. And far out, it definitely stayed with him, man. So his game definitely took him into that final six. And then I didn't understand why Declan was in it, man. Like, he's part of B team. I thought he should be in the B team side, right? Like, he's great there. But I guess they needed to use the wild card as well.
They didn't need to.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just glad he's on my team, bro.
But I guess like it's that thing that they chose Victor basically, didn't they? And then maybe Declan wanted to represent Australasia as well. You know what I mean? You don't know, do you? You know?
I'm glad he is, bro.
I thought it was odd that he had to do a trial though.
Yeah,
because for me, especially with Josh not doing it, like that big guy spot, he's by way the favourite, isn't he? You know.
I think there's him, there's Saunders, there's Declan, and there's Nico. And in Australia, that's about the three big guys that we've got.
Yeah.
You know? But Nico is doing Gi Worlds. And then I think, I mean, when I saw, you just had to assume Declan was going to win it, and far out did he ever. Actually, he did some cool stuff, man. So I didn't really see the pit as being anything other than a hindrance. Like, just don't have your back against the pit and you're pretty all good. And for me, doing the first CJI, I didn't train against the pit at all, man. Like, my goal or my thought was I'll just sit right in the middle and then it'll never come up, right?
That would be my tactic as well, mate.
Yeah. And then, like, I think even at the rules meeting for CJI 1, Lucky Giles and maybe one other guy were the only people there. Like, as far as the rules went, I send them a text. Can I pull guard with or without grips? And then that was it. But the pit is actually something you can use, right? And I think that was one thing that Declan really showed. Like, he had a few moments where he got pushed up against it, and he did kind of like tucked his foot up behind him, and it was clearly intentional. And I think at one point he used it to hit an arm drag after the bloke from Kazakhstan, Levy, hit a single leg on him. It was like a really nice moment. The guy puts him on his back with the single leg, and then he immediately attacks his back, having used the arm drag. And that had started against the pit. That and a bunch of other things where Declan got pushed up against the pit were clearly intentional. And so I really kind of want to maybe build one or train with one just to sort of see what was going on there. Hopefully I get a chance to train with him and ask him what was going on, because it's clearly a tool that you can use, you know? Mm. And it actually seems a bit different to the UFC one, right? Because the UFC one is sort of sloped. Yeah. So it seems like if you go against it, you're going to slide down into the bottom, right? Like you're skating or whatever. And then with the other one, you can kind of get wedged against it. So it is a little bit different somehow.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It would change the dynamic, definitely, because you could push someone against the pit, you can push them flat, can't you, and pin them. Whereas on the bowl, it'd probably be a bit harder to do that, like you said, because you just slide. So it's like, again, it's like it stops the restart problem, you know, which is the best thing. Yeah. But it definitely does change how you would tackle it.
Yeah, although I did see a clip from the UFC one where, because it is kind of like scoops up, somebody kind of ran up it and almost went out. No, they almost went out. So as they kind of ran in it, because they were running backwards as they were being pressured, because it's not like a sharp like angle. They just kind of gradually just started going up it and nearly went straight out. So I don't know what's better, but yeah, we'll see. And then obviously the team's now set for you guys, and I think Craig said, which obviously maybe has a bit of bias, but I'm inclined to agree. And we don't know what the America's team looks like yet. But I think as far as the Misfits team go, I think you guys have probably got the strongest team, I'd say.
That's mad, yeah.
Yeah, how are you feeling about the kind of squad, and obviously looking at the rest of the team? So again, America remains to be seen. Atos haven't confirmed, but we can guess. And pretty much every other team's now set. I don't know if you've paid much attention to it at this point, but kind of how you feeling about your own squad, and then maybe thinking about who you may face and what challenges that might bring.
I mean, for me, being on the same team as Levi is like weird, straight up, because I just always look at him, right? And then Declan, obviously, like, me and Declan have kind of gone through all the belts together and kind of been competing alongside each other, and I've always just really liked him. So to see him do that well and then to be on the same team as him is obviously a huge honor, man. And he, like, if someone plays guard against him from basically anywhere else, like, if we could pick him to go against someone who plays off their back, then I think he would kind of molest their guard. Like, his north-south passing is phenomenal. If you watch his match at the trials with Bilal, who's also on the team and also incredibly good, he can do some really impressive stuff. It's kind of similar to what William and Andrew Tackett do, where they pass towards north-south and then kind of sprawl over one shoulder, and it creates a really nice pin for people who play off their back. So I think having him on the team is incredible. Fabricio Andre, I want to be there when he hits one of those arm bars. Like, I'm just a fan. Yeah. And training with him would be fun. Hopefully I get to do that a little bit. Like, he seems like a cool guy, you know? And he's obviously got some, like, phenomenal capabilities, man. like that is a huge win for us, honestly, having him on the team. And then Bilal, he's pretty new to it. I've trained with him a bunch before. He came from New Zealand and he's friends with a lot of the boys from SWA. So he's been at the gym a bunch of times and he's really good, man. Like, it's obviously a huge step up in competition, but that's exactly what it was for me. And Aussies, man, like Aussie guard players rise to the occasion in a big way, right? Like we get fuck all opportunities, but when we get them, we take them. And then I just see that as being a huge opportunity for him to do the same thing. So I think we're going to do some damage, bro. Like I really do. I don't exactly know who's in the other teams. It's not really about that though, is it? When you go and compete, it's really about just playing your game and applying your game sort of fearlessly, right? Like there's no space for that anymore. So if it's like someone who kind of sucks in front of you or someone who's perceived to be incredibly awesome, then fuck it. Let's just go, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. I think there's obviously so many good athletes and there's so many potential matches. And I think because, like we talked about a minute ago, because it isn't going to be 88s versus 88s. You know, you step out on that mat first, depending on what team it is, you could be against literally anyone, you know? So
Victor Hugo.
Yeah.
That would be so fucking good, wouldn't it?
I'd be so pumped, man. Like, I mean, I'd try, right? Like, he's obviously incredible. I'd fucking have a good go. You know, that's it. That's what I said the first time. Like, one of my mates, when I went to the venue that day for CJI 1, was like, was basically saying the same thing. And was like, I'll try. Like, what do I do? You know? Yeah,
mate. That's it. And again, you just mentioned that you don't know like the ins and outs of every team, but thinking about some of the athletes that are going to be there, is there anybody that you'd like absolutely love to compete against?
Yeah. So I was actually just, while I was waiting, looking at the poster, so there was like Victor Hugo was on there, Kynan was on there. I think Felipe Pena is going to be there.
He's in Atos' team, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's because they train together a fair bit, right?
He's their wild card technically, but yeah, he's on that team. So,
bro, that experience of people that I only saw in like Stuart Cooper highlights on YouTube and then competing against them is such a trip out. I wish everyone got to experience that weekend that I got to experience just once in their life. It was like, no, I want to compete against one of those guys and I want to have that weekend again. And then I never want to have it after that. Like it was like one weekend where you're suddenly a pop star, bro. I'm not even kidding, by the way. Like after James Smith in the new tonic, the money for the submission, bro, I walked out the front of the venue with that, and my mate has like a series of pictures of people taking pictures with me, which is not part of my life at all, right? Like it happened 100 times, bro. He was counting. He kept taking pictures of it happening, of people taking pictures with me. When we went to the gun range in Vegas, people took pictures with us. When we went to a cafe, in the casinos, everywhere we went, it was like, I'm serious, like it was like being a pop star for a weekend. And it was exactly enough. It was exactly enough to know I never want to do it. I never wanted to do it again, but I kind of want to do it again, bro. I kind of really want to do it again.
Class.
I want to compete against all those guys, man. Like, I don't really care. I would love to show more of my jiu-jitsu. I think for me the big sort of split in thinking of jiu-jitsu would be between like Absolute and the Lockie Giles school of thought, where you can play off your back to make connections. So you have to let them come to you, but if you have decent enough guard retention, you can turn that into significant attacks. Where the new wave school of thought would be wrestling, wrestle-ups to then get towards leg locks. But I see both schools as being fundamentally built around leg locks. Like Danaher kind of made his name from the saddle, or like inside Senkaku, whatever. So it's like, I think both of those schools are fundamentally looking for leg locks, and I sort of like to attach myself to that school of thought where I like to play off my back. I like to do guard retention. I like to show how a smaller person can apply their jiu-jitsu to a much, much bigger person using like a depth of skill in jiu-jitsu I think that's at the core of what jiu-jitsu is. That's what we like about it, right? So I really enjoy that, where New Wave has this totally other thought. So I would like to compete against them. I guess if we could go against them first, that'd be pretty epic. And they got some obviously pretty famous people in there that you get to see a lot. So that'd be pretty.
Yeah, it'd be good, man. I think they've got is it Big Dan, Luke, Bodoni, I think 77 still remains to be seen. Who's at 66 for them again?
Is it Dominic May?
No, it's the small lad.
Is it Dorian, maybe?
Yeah, Dorian. Yeah, it's Dorian, little wrestler.
Yeah,
Dorian.
He's a weapon. I love watching him, man. He's like a bulldog.
He's unbelievable, isn't he? He's literally unbelievable. I'll never forget when he beat Luke. That's like crazy. Beat Luke Griffiths.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
It's like when Andrew Tackett did it to Dan from that school. You're just like, what is going on there? How does that even happen?
Yeah, how does that work? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think 77's either Taza or David, as whatever he's called.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Azara, something.
Azara, yeah. He's good. They're both good in fairness. So,
but I think depending on who Atos put out, I think them, B Team, and obviously New Wave are the three standout like teams when you think about like really established superstars in the sport. And then I think from a misfits perspective, I think you guys have probably got the strongest team. I think hopefully the Europeans, they've got some good guys in there, but we had Faris on recently and kind of joked that it's kind of our B team because of injuries and how things went. So, but still some really good guys though. And then we'll see what the Americas produce.
That actually happened with me, one of those, bro. I got sent a clip of Craig talking about whoever injured Mateusz Szczecinski, he was going to put a hit out on him, bro. Like that actually happened at SWA. It was fucking such a freak accident. So we had rolled a bunch before, right? I rolled with him once before he did ADCC last year, and I did CJI. And it was totally chill. And then I rolled with him again at his leg lock camp that was at our gym. And we had an awesome round. It was really, really fun. And then literally the second day of his leg lock camp, he made one grip and we just heard this and his bicep tore. He had to get like a bicep surgery. You could even see it, man. You could see his arm, and it was the first maybe 5 seconds of us rolling. He touched my leg, and I guess it must have just been ready to go, man, because I thought I had heard him put his hand on the mat, like a pop.
Yeah.
And then bro, it was his fucking bicep. It looked different to the other one as well. You could see it was just this far up from
coils, doesn't it?
Yeah, man. That was one of the most. That was probably that was out there for the most embarrassed I have ever felt, man. Because this is a guy that I actually just I just watch. I'm just actually just a fan. I see all these. I got Fight Pass to watch him and Levi, and I kept it to watch their matches past that. I'm just a huge fan.
So we're passing this clip onto Craig, are we?
Yeah.
Passing this clip onto Craig. So it was you ruined our European dreams, mate.
Nah, man, I honestly felt awful. Bro, and he's such a cool guy. He has Dark Souls tattoos or From Software tattoos all down his arm and stuff. The guy's actually a legend.
Fuck that game, Mo. God, that game is hard.
Yeah, that's epic, man. Yeah, nah, it's that was an embarrassing one. But they got a good team still. They got Paul Ardilla. I didn't realize he was from Europe.
He's not as a wild card.
Oh, but he did the trials, no?
Yeah, so they brought him in as a wild card to do the trials.
Because our 88 was pretty good, so they want to just chuck him in, I didn't think.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I think basically, we've got Faris's episode coming out on Monday, so he explains it in more detail. But yeah, essentially a lot of our 88 guys are all good mates. So Owen O'Flanagan, Santiri, those guys are all good mates, Taylor. And they didn't want to compete in the trials against each other, so... and then I think they moved Taylor up from 77, I think because of someone getting hurt. And then, brought Paul in as a wild card. Faris joked because Greg wanted him for the Americas team, which may or may not be true, I don't know. But brought him in, obviously he beat Taylor and now he's got the spot. But But yeah, I think from our perspective, we were, maybe hoping to see essentially a Los Banditos team where you've got Owen at 88, Taylor at 77 if Marius wasn't going to be there. But yeah, it's turned out how it has. But yeah, still a really good team. But just, maybe from a fan's perspective, not the people we were expecting being European.
It could have been better.
Good team, but yeah, it could have been better. But maybe just from a fan's perspective, like not the people we were expecting to kind of see in there. I think that's probably the main thing.
It's a good opportunity for Pavel to get really well known. That guy's crazy good, man. Like, yeah, he's phenomenal. I saw his matches at Polaris Squads, and I'm kind of not really a believer in the false reap, and he hit it on everyone. So
everyone, yeah. He was even doing that on the trials when he's hitting that false reap. I was like,
yeah, no, good on him, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a good event, man. But listen, we'll let you go in a second. We know it's late there with the time difference.
Cheers.
Do you want to shout out any thanks to anybody or any sponsors or anything, mate?
Oh no, I got fuck all sponsors, bro. That's why I had the rash guard that I did, because I was like at CJI, because I was like, man, no one even knows who I am, so I could maybe earn about like $5 in sponsorship, but maybe if it's for a charity, people would like do something with it. So it made more for a charity than it ever would for me. So I was pretty stoked with that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, well, someone hook the guy up. The guy needs a sponsor.
Sorry, I did think of one. Street X is having a comp at the beginning of July, and I was going to do a super fight on it, but I can't because I got a dirty, rotten staff. But everyone should watch that shit because the guy's a legend. He sends, people don't know this, bro. That guy sends clothes to like half the gyms in Australia, like just so everyone has sick NoGi stuff. Like the guy is an actual fucking legend. So like, he's not really my sponsor, but he's kind of Australia's sponsor. So yeah.
Yeah, legend.
Support that guy.
Awesome, man. But yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. Good to meet you, and all the best at CJI.
Likewise. Thanks, boys.